Have you checked out Change Cars yet? That's the website where you can find your next car, because they only list cars from franchise dealers, giving you total peace of mind. That's changecars.co.za. The Kia Sportage just crowned Medium SUV Car of the Year South Africa 2023. This one is the mid-spec EX line. And the difference is, from our recent test of a GT line version, it's powered by the diesel engine that Kia added to the range very recently instead of the petrol. So, of course, you've got the Tiger Shark grille, as they call it. That is familiar to Kia. You've got, interestingly, black over here at the skid plate instead of the silver, a lot of cars. And you've got these very much boomerang type daytime running lights around the headlights. These are little features. I'm not going to spend too much time, because you can go and look at the GT line version video for yourself and you'll see some of the differences. 18-inch alloy wheels, that's standard, you expect it, and of course the expected black cladding around the wheel arches. Again, this one does without a little bit of the body kit that the GT line added to the recipe, so you don't get quite as much of the skirting along the sides, for example, but that's where the difference in price between the two would be very much coming into play. You do get keyless entry and push button start. That's something you'd expect, and auto folding of the mirrors even when you lock the car. Now, coming through to the back seat over here, definitely a feature of this model is the fact that there's a button that gives you heating for the rear seats, even the two outer rear seats. And I looked for a while to find them USBs in the side of the front seats and not in the center console at the back, as you'd expect on most other cars. These are features, well, you just expect or you don't, it doesn't matter, but nice little extra touches as far as I'm concerned. Come around to the rear and you'll see very neat lines, the black trim across over there. It all looks very, very neat and very interesting, and a very substantial skid plate over there at the rear. Pop open the boot, and again, this model does without the remote opening and closing, the powered tailgate. You've got to do it manually on your own. You can think of worse hardships in the world than that, but it's something you either want, don't want, doesn't matter as far as I'm concerned. But I won't take up the shelf for now, but let's have a look. Not as much height on the boot as I'd expect, because this is pretty high, but I'd say it's definitely at least a 1 Allen boot, no doubt about that. And what it does have is, I'm not sure if it's standard or an extra on this car, but a really nice rubberized mat over here to keep your luggage in place while you're traveling around. That's something that I think is pretty nice to have. And well done, Kia. A full-sized alloy spare wheel for a change. There you go. That's a nice feature to have for once, isn't it? Close the boot manually, pop it down. A lot of the black trim you can see over there as well. Well, the diesel model, powered by a 4-cylinder turbo diesel, giving you 100 kilowatts, 132 Newton meters, powering the front wheels through a 7-speed dual clutch automatic transmission. Out on the road, the first impression I got of the Sportage, particularly in suburbia, was the ride was a touch hard. But I've got to tell you that on the freeway, on the open road, it really runs nicely. It's got relatively good road holding for a medium family SUV, everything you really would want from it. So I've got no complaints whatsoever in that respect. It's comfortable, it's smooth. That 7-speed dual clutch automatic transmission, you just never ever feel a gear shift, and that is a massive, massive bonus. I'm not sure if you can hear or not, but the diesel engine, yes, when it's a bit colder, and it is cold now, it's a cold high-funk morning, there is a bit of a diesel clatter, but it's really nothing much, and you don't feel it or hear it much at all cruising along on the freeway. So that's what counts in that respect. 100 kilowatts and 320 Newton meters of torque. I must admit, when I saw it on paper, I was a little bit concerned. thinking, is this going to be underpowered? When you consider that the petrol version is 132 kilowatts and 265 Newton meters, it's quite a difference. But of course, diesel does have more lugging power. The 320 is very big, and it is a sufficient number on torque. And you can, I hope, notice we're going up that slight hill now at the moment, and it really just, dodging potholes, but it really just cruises its way up and it doesn't feel anything. That's what really, really counts in that respect. Just overall, as the petrol versions, it is such a comfortable family SUV. It really is, and it's no surprise it won the medium SUV category at Car of the Year now last week. It's really no surprise. It came through, and I think the diesel version would have scored even higher, quite honestly, and I know I'm sticking my neck out with a comment like that. We're doing our little 3-point turn spot over here. Let's see, and it sort of made it, didn't it? Sort of, kind of. I cheated a little bit over there, but I think you get the impression. It's just a nice, smooth, and the diesel version in particular, maybe because it's not quite so powerful, is very, very relaxing to drive. It's a very easy, smooth, relaxed drive, and I like that feature a lot. And I think that's what counts out on the road. Now let's take a look at the interior, and the first thing we're going to look at, and this has to be the standout feature. It really has to. And that is, look at that. I've done 557 kilometers on this test at 5.9 liters per 100. The petrol version was in the mid sevens, if I remember correctly. And that is so impressive. It really is. I did an open road run through to Harties. I got it down to 5.3. How's that for an open road cruise? I know that Kia claim, I think it's either 4.7 or 4.9, but we all know that's perfect conditions. Real world, there you go, and that makes all the difference totally to me. Now, I'm going to concentrate a little bit on differences in spec level, because this is the mid-spec EX version, not the GT line we had in the petrols. So keep that in mind. So you don't get flappy paddles behind the steering wheel. You've got cruise control, but it's not active cruise control. And that's one of the big ones I've got to mention to you. It's got blind spot warning in the mirrors. You can't quite see it now, but it does have. It's got all of those kind of features. But of course, it doesn't have some of the active safety of the GT line version. So we're going to comment on that along the way as well. You've got this nice big screen over here. I'm not linking it now, obviously, but one thing I'll tell you, Android Auto, which I use a cable, was one of the smoothest, quickest connections I've had in a long, long time connecting to Android Auto. So, real kudos to Kia for that one. You come down over here, got to show you this. The screen, you know, I'm not going to show you. But really, this is nice. Look here. At the moment, it shows all the buttons for aircon, which are repeated on the screen if you want, but you know we all hate that. But look there, I press that little button and it brings you all the home features for the screen as well. So there you go, and back to aircon. I just think that's nice. Dual zone climate control, of course. You've got a 12 volt and 2 USBs over here for the front. You've got inductive charging. These are all things that you really do expect. Over here you've got the buttons for heated front seats and even a heated steering wheel. And let me just tell you, you've got heated rear seats as well. How's that? And then over here below the gear shift, you do have drive mode, so you can go into sport mode. You know that, but why on this car, quite honestly, here? And you've of course got your camera, your auto hold, your auto stop start. Why again? Auto stop start. I switch it off, and this one you've got to switch off every single time you start the engine of the car. Now, another major difference with the EX is cloth seats instead of fabric. Lots of people prefer that. But then over here, a nice perk, and I'll show it again later, is 2 USBs for the rear seats built into the backrests of the front seats. Quite an interesting feature, that as well. Another difference from the GT line is there's no panoramic roof. Some people love, some people hate, but you know what it's like. You do still get this metal effect across the dash, which looks very interesting. It's all very neat, very, very well put together. That's the point. And it's typical of what you expect from the Korean manufacturers and from here these days. Very sporty feeling, feels good all round. Now, when I did my test of the GT line petrol version, I spoke a lot about the value, or my perception of the fact that with the same engine and gearbox, there was a 200,000 Rand span across the range from LX to GT Line S. They've simplified the range slightly with the diesel versions. There are only 3, EX, LX and 1 GT Line. And they've plonked this one dead center price-wise into the range. The GT Line S top spec petrol that I had was 750. This one comes in at 650, and to give you a comparison, the petrol version comes in at about 625. So you've got about a 25,000 Rand premium to go from petrol to diesel. When you look at fuel consumption like that, I can see the value, quite honestly. The product's good. It just won the category in Car of the Year, as I said. It's one of those. Go and check it out for yourself. You will not be disappointed. For Motor Matters, I'm Eleanor. See you next time.